So it has been suggested in the comments that perhaps it would be wise for me to stay away from the drone flying and get back to working on axes. And I would have to agree. So what do we have? What are we going to be doing today? So today we are going to choose some very special hickory, Tennessee hickory, for this little Norland number 5. If you're joining us for the first time, this little axe right here has been a restoration project. And for those of you who have been following along, it's cleaning up pretty nice. Still got a little bit more work to go do, maybe not. Haven't put the edge on it, save that till the last, but man, this is beautiful. So let's take a look at, I've got 3 hickory choices. Let's look at them together and select something that's really special for this little axe. All right, what do we have here? Well, I got a couple of different options. So here's something that as I was grabbing my hickory, this hickory here, both these pieces, this is the first piece that I purchased, is 8/4 thick. That's thick. It's supposed to be 8/4 is supposed to be a full 2 inches, but you know they're lumberyard. You know how they are. They jip us all the time. It's actually short. It's 1 7/8, but for all intents and oh, there I go. Intense and purpose. I think I said intensive purpose last time. I probably shouldn't use words that I can't pronounce. For what it's worth, this is the first piece that I bought. That's all that's left. It was a 12-footer. This is the second one. Again, same, from a different tree, but again, 8/4 flat sawn Tennessee hickory. Man, nothing finer. Tough wood. What was it Clint Eastwood said? Ain't nothing like a good piece of hickory. This here. This is one of Granddad's handles. This was on a double-bitted axe, and it was all loose and worn out, and I cut it off there and made it when I made a new handle for it. And funny, interesting thing is he always painted his this way with the red. He put red on both ends, and the reason why he did that was we used to go elk hunting, elk and deer hunting. That was what we took all of our family vacations for. And there were a lot of men up there with a lot of tools, and so he painted them this way. This was his pattern, so he could keep track of them. That's why he did that. I've seen, I painted, I never thought about that. Well, I painted mine black on the bottom, but I probably ought to adopt this, a double stripe. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Do it like do a red stripe here and a red stripe there. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should change my ways. But what I was thinking was, how cool would it be to use Granddad's old axe handle to make a handle for the little marbles? I think there's enough there. Maybe. I don't know. I want to do I think there is. I think that it would work. But the more I look at it, let's take a close look here. I had to go get some lights. It's just so dark in here. So dark. Man, now I get to work around 2 tripods. All right, so what do we have? So my only concern on this, well, it's not really a concern. Let's take a look at the grain orientation here. Can you see? Come on, Canon. There we go. See how we're running? Ideally, we want to be running this way. But that, to me, that's totally acceptable. Totally acceptable. Let's look at this end here. See that? Running at that's just about a perfect 45 right there. I would not have an issue with that. Like if I bought a nice axe, Grand Force Brooks or something like that, and it came with a grain oriented that way, I would be fine with that. It is nice to have it run perfect though, isn't it? I mean, every time you look at it, the thing is you can say that now and like, oh, I cut a corner there. I don't know if it is cutting a corner. I don't know. Maybe we're splitting hairs here. But like if you have something that's really nice like that you put a lot of time in and you want to show your friends and family and share it with people, are you okay with that? Can you live with that? Or is somebody gonna make a comment on it and make you mad? I don't know. We have here, we'll get this one. So this one here, this is flat sawn hickory. You know why they paint that on there? They paint that, well, this is all super dry, kiln dried. A piece of wood like this, how long would it take for it to dry properly before I use it for an axe handle? Well, I'd say no less than 2 years. But nice thing about it is when you buy it, it will be kiln dried. Now, if you're wondering, let's say you have a special project that you're going to be, you really want it to be nice. You don't want this to shrink at all, because if this shrinks when you put that head on there, it'll be loose, and all of your work, all the effort you put into it will be for naught. So what you can do is once you cut the billet out, cut the billet to what size you want, and if you have a small scale, something that's real sensitive, I mean something like Mrs. W has one in the kitchen, is you put that on there and you weigh it. Bring it in the house for about a week or so. Someplace it's heated, even, not right next to the wood stove or the heater, but close, something that gets some air and ventilation, and then weigh it again in a week and see. If you haven't lost anything, you'll know that all the moisture, the water is out of that piece of wood. I mean, you're really getting anal there. But if you're gonna do it, something special, sometimes you don't know, because you just don't know. Especially if you have this here, say you've bought it and it's been in your shop for a couple of years, you don't need to go through any of that. But let's say you just bought it maybe from a dubious source. Maybe they said it was kiln dried. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's a way you can check yourself. So the benefit of using this is we can pick and choose the exact grain that we want. What is it going to be? Granddad's axe with the 45-degree grain, or the perfect hickory? Let's go with Granddad's axe. Let's set this stuff aside for the next project, and we'll do. Okay. So let's figure out what the length's going to be. That's where we start. So let's take a look at a few comparable axes. I don't have anything comparable really. This is so small, what I used to think was small. This here is the smallest axe that I'm aware of that Grand Force Brooks makes. I know I'm not pronouncing that right. My wife, she's fluent in Swedish, and I'll ask her again. I think she says she says it in a way that I really can't. I can't. So this is their smallest little axe. It's a hand hatchet, not an axe. It's a hand hatchet. And I used to think this was so tiny, but it's a monster compared to this one. Look at the difference. I mean, they're not completely dissimilar, but it is quite a bit bigger. It's probably over twice the weight. But I don't see this as being, although it's a perfect handle for this and for what this is intended for, I don't see that this being a good handle for this. So we'll discard that one. Another small axe that I have here is you ever come across one of these? Snatch it up. Norland double bit. Man, one of my favorites in the top 3. Very special. That's got a small handle on it. Again, I used to think this one was small, but look at the two compared to each other there. I mean, this thing is looking pretty hefty compared to that. This has this is traditional double bit handle, but double bit handle, that really doesn't have anything to do with a single bitted axe. So, but the size is nice, a bit small. I didn't make that handle. What else do we have? This isn't really an option, but well, it could be. This is a handle from this is one of my this is my crosscut saw and a little swaging hammer, and this was a handle that is a very old design. It's one that I copied from the original handle from the Atkins hammer. Luckily, I still have it, and it's a wonderful shape. As I've spoke to this before, but a handle shape that's made to work with the hand and work with the body, that's comfortable to be in your hand all day. I really love this palm swell design. But is that appropriate? Something like that for this type of axe. How does that look? Looks like a hammer. We don't want that. We want it to look like an axe. So that leads us to the last one. And although this is not a small axe, this is a Husqvarna. How's that? How's that Swedish? Husqvarna axe. And although this is a carpenter's axe, but what it has, and when I was looking through all my axes, what I like about it is it's such a beautiful, classic hatchet, kind of a hatchet design, that shape, with a nice pronounced shoulder on it. We're not going to need much of a shoulder for this. But even though it's, of course, way too big, can you not picture that? Can you kind of see where I'm going with that there? Does not that shape lend itself to, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, very traditional, very classic. This is what we want to duplicate. Whatever it is, the length and such, I want that sweeping back, curving up to just a simple little handle. Heart Racer, what are you doing? You know the Heart Racer, she will not lay on the floor. Doesn't matter. If there is a piece of cloth or something soft the size of a postage stamp, she will try to curl up on it. She won't lay on the floor. And the poor thing here, she doesn't have anything to lay on, and she's got to lay on the wood chips. Okay, so with a basic shape in mind, the thing we need to, before we get started, we need to determine is do we have enough wood here to make that shape? Let's set this here by inspiration. It's important to have inspiration when you're doing things like this. I read a book one time about the amazing Bosendorfer pianos. I believe they're made in Germany. And the way the artists sculpt those, and all of the way that their studio is, and the art that's hung there, and the way everything is designed to inspire the human form and human shape, and that hopefully that will translate into their work. So we'll be inspired right here by this one. So the question is there enough wood? This is a very small handle to get in the back, and to cut basically what we need to be cutting an S out of here. It's really close, isn't it? It's going to be very subtle. I think we should go for it. Let's try it and see. It's a very small handle, and if it's not, it looks like it's not working out, then we'll switch over to the live edge. All right, we're almost ready to cut here, and we'll put the Spokeshave on it. We'll see what type of condition the wood is. But we got to figure the length. What I'm thinking, what do you think about that? Is that look something about like that length right there? What do we have? That to me, I like the looks of that. That's about a foot. What do we got there? 12 inches. 12 inches. Why not? What's 12 inches is a good length. And that's a little bit long. It might come down to. Here's 10. This is 10. 10 looks good. Maybe 10. Let's cut the blank. Let's cut the billet at 12, and then we can always adjust that later. Let's cut it. Let's break into the wood. Let's peel it back here, some of the weathering, and see what we have, and then we'll decide. I think it's really neat to be able to use. I'm glad I saved some of Granddad's old handles and these things. It's neat to be able to have that memory, rather than just throw them away. We'll mark that at 12 inches with our official Wranglerstar carpenter's pencil. Giving out a few thousand of those. We can set this one aside for another project. Yeah. Oh, there's enough there. Let's strip off some of this weathering. So the keen observer might note that this handle is varnished. Thinking about that, I might have to give Granddad a hard time about that when I see him in the kingdom. Ask him, he knew better than that. But we don't know all the circumstances, do we? All right, so this is something I've never used before. This is a little Spokeshave that's got a radius on it. Ooh, look at that. Varnish is just flying off there like popcorn. That's a nice tool. That's really nice for that. This was a gift from me, from one of my subscribers at the Mother Earth News Fair. And when You know, it's so nice. As I was thinking as I was setting it for this video and putting all my tools together, that over half of the tools that are on my bench right now that I'll be using in this video have been given to me as gifts from subscribers. And you know, that's really nice. It's special, and they're not, and they weren't just, you know, the ones that I'm using here. Most of them are not ones that were something that they just picked at a garage sale, but but belong to a family member, and so that to me is it's a very special gift, and I enjoy using them, especially when I'm making these videos like that, because I feel like we're kind of you guys are kind of a little bit of a part of it. You know, you contributed to it, and like this nice Spokeshave right here. I wouldn't be able to use this or have this if it weren't for those of you who subscribe to the channel and support us. Oh, it doesn't like the flat, but it does like the round side. So a combination of both here. This is set a little bit deep. This Granddad's Spokeshave here. That's a little bit deep. Great tool. You want to get kids into woodworking, or anyone, not just kids. This is the funnest tool to use, and it's something that anyone can use safely. Still a little bit deep. You just want to take that just a little bit off there. No, I went too far there. Very subtle. Pretty good looking piece of wood here. Although interesting, I don't know that it works as well as or I don't work it as well as just the traditional Spokeshave. Spokeshave is a good tool for getting the varnish off your tools. Some of that stuff can really be difficult to get off. So this little handle is it's too fiddly. It's too small for the vise. This is my favorite method for building handles, even big ones, up to 3 feet. Big as your clamp will go. This is the best clamp ever for this, because it's got lots of surface area on the jaws, and you can orient the wood, and it holds it so securely, and you can rotate it at any angle, which makes it wonderful for shaping. Oh, that's way better. Great thing about this method for holding your work is that you can use it in any type of a vise that you have. And this clamp, I've got lots of clamps, and this one, the jet clamp, the 31-inch is perfect. Well, unless you're trying to make a 32-inch handle, then it wouldn't be very good, but I guess since I've had it, I haven't made a 32-inch handle, but it sure is great for everything else. I have this habit, 100 times I've reached down to undo the clamp on the vise, and the clamp falls on the floor. Let's take a look at this. What type of conditions it's in. It's very sound. Focus. There we go. It's very sound up here, and is pretty typical with a lot of the used handles like this, that you're starting to see a little bit of weathering on the back there. However, most of that is going to be gone, and we're probably going to lose an inch off of here, so I think it's going to be okay. My only concern is it wide enough? Is it wide enough to get that shape that we want? Let's sketch it out here with our inspiration and see if it looks like it's going to fit. So I'm comfortable with the soundness of the wood, but is there room for that shape in there? So this is a small axe, a very small axe. Little goes a long ways. We got a 1/4 inch or so on each side of the pole, but I'm thinking just kind of sketching this in here, that nice sweeping S pattern. Go back out to the extreme side, a little shorter like that, and then come bring it back in like this. And have a nice little knob. I like this knob there at the end. Very reminiscent of the small forest axe. There's room for that with that wide swell there. We might take a little bit out of the top too. Will that come up here? Symmetrical, like this here. So it's going down, a little bit down here. Is it in there? Is it in there? It's close. It's really close. Let's work it here a little bit. Let's see. Let's see if we can't work on a two-dimensional template here, kind of, and we don't have to make the decision now, but we can get an idea if we're going to have enough. I'll tell you what, the wool shirt comes off when you start doing handles. Start working to that beautiful S shape. Yeah, I think it's looking good, guys. I think it is. Some hard old wood there, boy. Now this is very rough, but we're kind of seeing that. You starting to see that shape? We don't want it to be too much. You can get too much. It's very subtle. Less is more. We want it just to have just that organic look, but not overdone. You know, everything's so overdone. It wants to be subtle and nice and to look like a branch. Let's roll this back off of here, right here. Pull this down here. You know what, draw knife. This is not the best tool for the job. Let me grab a draw knife. Now we're cooking. Let's pull this down to match. We just got to get that, just that right. Oh, I like that. That's looking really. I'm even kind of liking how it flares out there. You know, it's a bit heavy now, but let's bring them together. Got we're a little flat there. Let's even that out. What's it look like a wave? Pretty good. Pretty pronounced there. I don't think we want to go too much further than that. Oh, good grief. Well, I learned my lesson slow. So I flipped it over. This is where the eye will go. We're going to we'll take this down just a little bit. We got quite a bit of material to play with there. Let's take a look at our work. Do you see the shape coming together there? Do you see the similarities? Less pronounced, certainly more subtle. Let's see how it looks proportion-wise. Now this is going to be, much material is going to be gone. It's going to be much smaller, much more petite. But the basic shape there, it's nice, isn't it? Oh, it feels good in the hand. Is it too long? It's a bit too long. And that's kind of what I was counting on. I figured it was about 1 inch too long. And we can get rid of some of that, some of the weather-beaten wood there. Let me cover that up. So we're going to have a little bit there sticking out, but let's cover that up. Something like this here. Maybe 3/4 of an inch, something like that. That looks good. Looks real good. Just so, you know, just a Spokeshave. They could have done the whole thing with a Spokeshave. Very simple. Very simple. Too bad these are not readily available. I wish that everyone could, all of you could do have a little project like this to do. And the nice thing about having a small, hickory is so hard to come by, unless you have a really good lumber yard in your area. That something like this, you could just go buy a used or a new axe handle, something like that was for a mattock, something that's thick. And you'd have unlimited supply of hickory for small handles. But these, well, there's not very many of them. Oh, I like that. I really like that. That's gonna be nice. That's the right shape for this. That's the way it ought to be. Just about right in there. All right, that's probably enough for today. We'll do the fine tuning next time, and well, I guess what we'll probably start doing is, before we do any fine tuning, is tackle this. Boy. All right, we'll see you guys on the next video. Heart Racer, are you ready to go? Hey, you ready to go? Come on, let's go. Let's go back to the house. I've sat here for 5 minutes trying to come up with something to talk about in the end card. I'll just start talking. Sunday morning, beautiful Sunday morning on the homestead in July. And well, I'm excited about today, and I'm not excited about today. I'm excited about the fact that I pick up Mrs. W at the airport tonight, and Jack, haven't seen her for a week. Looking forward to that. What I'm not excited about is I did let the house go a bit, and there's a fair amount of cleaning to do. That's always what I do. But I did learn something, that a man alone in his home, away from his wife, you can get by on one meal a day. You can. Peanut butter and English muffins, they go a long ways. So, I know what I was going to talk about. So I asked the question, well, should we do something nice for Mrs. W? And I have just the thing in mind. Actually, I have already shot the first part of the video. And the second part is actually going to be putting the plan into effect. But what I decided on, although there were some great ideas from subscribers, many of them where I just didn't have the time to do it. But I do have time for this. Mrs. W has wanted me to get her irrigation system sorted out for her garden. She's been watering by hand, and well, I've been putting it off too long, so we're going to fix that today. I've got all the supplies, and we'll get that hooked up, get the ram pump all hooked up, so I might just do that today if I can get through the house cleaning. And I'll bring you guys along for that. So stay tuned for the next parts coming up, and we'll see if we can't get that head fitted. But boy, it's turning out nice, isn't it? I think it's going to be really, really, really cool. All right, well, I think it's probably enough. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.